with us now. Let's bring in one of the Republicans who met with President Biden yesterday and can tell us whether they were serving hamburgers there, Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi. Roger, it's always great to see you. I got this Venn diagram. I don't know if you heard Willie me talking about hamburgers, but I got this Venn diagram, and I'm trying to figure out what states have Crystal Burgers and Whataburger. Florida does. You all have that in Mississippi, too?
Absolutely. We have both of them. Yep. But Joe,
okay, well, hold on.
Please,
I'm checking that off.
Please don't make me watch Bill de Blasio eat breakfast. I mean, I love to be on your show. I love the publicity, but let's let that be the last time, please.
Well, you know, Roger, this is where America is coming together, because not only does a good old guy from Mississippi feel that way, most people on the Upper East Side feel that way as well. So we are, as I said, on vaccines and everything, we're coming together as a country. Speaking of coming together as a country, it's so exciting to me to see you and other Republicans sitting down with Democrats, seeing if we can't come together with infrastructure bills. You know, when we served in Congress, we were able to work with Democrats. We actually balanced the budget quite a few times together. So I'm curious, how was the meeting yesterday? And those were the days, exactly. How was the meeting, and are you feeling hopeful that maybe a deal can be carved out here?
It was a good meeting, and I'll tell you, Jonathan just gave a very accurate report. We feel good about it. Well, first of all, we made history. The president announced as the meeting began that the CDC had lifted the mask requirement. And so the question was, well, is this the last meeting where we'll have to wear masks in the Oval Office? And President Biden said, actually, this could be the first meeting. So we took our masks off and made history there in the Oval Office. But then we got down to business. And I'll tell you, the things we have in common, Republicans and the president want to build roads, bridges. We want to add broadband to that great heartland of America that includes Alabama and Mississippi, and ports, rail, water, clean water infrastructure. We all want to do that, and I think that's what most Americans think of when we talk about infrastructure. And so we have a plan that we've given to the president. Obviously, he'd like to plus it up a bit. I think he knows that to get it through the Republican majority, through the majority of Republicans, it can't be anything approaching what he's asking. But we got down to brass tacks. We're going to exchange specifics in the next few days. And then we've agreed to give the president a more concrete proposal, and he's going to get back to us. I think we can get it done.
So Roger, I think it sounds like you all are agreeing on a lot of the needs, a lot of the infrastructure needs. Obviously, Joe Biden has been talking about, and the Biden administration has been talking about raising taxes for people making over $400,000. Raising corporate taxes substantially. I know Joe Manchin and some more moderate Democrats have said they're okay going from 21 to 25% on corporate taxes. Do you think it's possible that any Republicans, I know what Mitch said, but do you think it's possible that any Republicans would even agree to bumping up corporate tax rate from 21 to 25%, maybe closing some of the loopholes?
Well, I don't think so. And I hope not, and I'll tell you why. We really believe, and I think the statistics bear this out, the economy was roaring back in February of 2020. The 2017 tax cuts, which lifted a burden off people that want to create jobs, they were just kicking in, and the economy was roaring. I'd like to get back to that. And I think what Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin realize, and I think really a lot of Democrats realize, we can fund this $600 billion plus of infrastructure without tinkering with that 2017 bill that really gave us a lot of job creation. In February of last year, job participation was way up among minorities, among veterans, among females, and the unemployment rate was 3.5%. That when you and I were in kiddie economics, they taught us that you couldn't get below 4% unemployment, but we were below 4%. So let's leave those tax cuts in place. Let's look at the other ways, and I'll tell you, the president doesn't want to raise gas taxes, and so we're with him on that. He's drawn a red line there. We've drawn a red line on income taxes. But I think we can finance it a better way. But the main thing is we can get a robust, huge infrastructure package for the American people, and we can do something big in Washington, D.C. still on a bipartisan basis, and we need to show the world we can do that.
Yeah. You know, Roger, we talked briefly at the beginning in passing about when we came into Congress together in '94, balanced the budget 4 years in a row. And I've been saying on this show for several years that I've been warning of inflation for 25 years because of big spending, because of deficits, because of the debt. As you know, both parties have been spending wildly and out of control, too much over the past decade or so. And here we are at 27, 28 trillion. I'm wondering, do you agree with Larry Summers and even some Democratic economists that this time actually inflation does pose a pretty big threat to us? And also, when you look at that servicing on the debt, are you fearful that if we go back to 4, 5, 6% interest rates, that suddenly servicing the debt is going to become just an absolute monster for us?
Well, two things. We had to come to the rescue of the economy back in March with the CARES Act. And it was hundreds of billions of dollars. And another Larry that I listened to a lot, Larry Kudlow, was meeting with a group of us in the Capitol. He said, don't be afraid of the T word. The depression that we risk is so severe that we're going to have to spend over $1 trillion, and we did. But that's why the Larry Summers caution is why I was so concerned about this Rescue Act. I think the economy's coming back. I don't think we needed that much of deficit spending, so the president had to do it on a 51-50 basis in the U.S. Senate with reconciliation. So I think that I agree with you absolutely. The debt risks becoming unmanageable. We've had debt for a while, but it gets unmanageable.
Yeah.
And as interest rates creep up and as inflation occurs, which we're seeing now, we really expected this.
Yeah, I mean, we can't underline it enough for people that are watching right now, that yes, we're servicing this massive debt is manageable when interest rates are as low as they are. But if they tick up 2, 3, 4 percentage points, it becomes an even bigger budgetary crisis. Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.